fucking shit! Cut!
GTA has seen some really weird, complex, and interesting protagonists over the years. From our boy CJ just trying to keep the Grove Street families together, to Nico desperately searching for the American dream, to Michael dealing with the world's most chaotic midlife crisis. We've seen it all, but let's be real here. While some of these guys are just pragmatic criminals, others are so completely unhinged that they will kill you for literally nothing. If we're talking about rational protagonists, there's really only one place to start. There's definitely one guy who's not totally insane and has some sense left in him, Franklin. And if we see the dynamic of the GTA 5 trio, one thing is clear. Franklin is the guy stuck between two psychopaths with big egos. He spends half the game acting as an unpaid therapist for both of them, even solving arguments between Michael and Trevor just to stop the crew from killing each other. He is the emotional anchor of the group, unlike Trevor, who thrives on chaos, or even Michael, who's addicted to the adrenaline of heists. Franklin is not the kind of guy who would do such things for his ego or anything like that. You'll never find him killing someone out of ego or for fun. His actions are strictly for business. His ultimate goal isn't something crazy like becoming the next drug lord or a leader of a biker gang. He's just a guy from the hood who wants to escape the cycle of poverty and street-level crime. He seeks out Michael as a mentor because he wants to learn how to operate like a professional. He values discipline and strategy over the reckless gang culture he grew up around. But even with these goals, he never lost his humanity. Think about his relationship with his best friend, Lamar. Throughout the game, Lamar constantly drags Franklin into trouble and even pushes him backward into the exact street politics he's trying to escape. Yet, Franklin consistently risks his own life to bail his incompetent friend out. His loyalty stays the same towards him. The definitive proof of how he's not on the same level as some of the other unhinged protagonists is the canon ending of the story, Option C. When the most powerful, corrupt men in the state order him to murder either Michael or Trevor, he doesn't take the easy way out and sell out his team for money. He risks everything. Instead, he takes out the enemies, which proves that he has a moral spine. His plan actually works. Fast forward to GTA Online, the contract expansion, and we see Franklin's true intentions come to reality. He successfully transitioned into a legitimate business owner, running a high-end celebrity solutions agency. Before we move on, take a moment and subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty of videos coming that I'm sure you don't want to miss. Moving on. One protagonist that I think is pretty misunderstood is Niko Bellic. From the outside, he has big anger issues. He has a quick temper, he's highly impulsive, and when he gets pushed, he's incredibly quick to snap and resort to brutal violence. He's also a veteran of a horrific civil war, and that trauma has made him what he is. If we're just looking at his resume, the guy's committed massacres and been involved in some of the darkest criminal enterprises imaginable. But in canon, Niko never killed any innocent civilians out of his ego. There's no missions in GTA 4 where you kill someone who isn't a criminal or a cop for no reason at all. I understand that it's really easy to just put this guy in the category of pure, unhinged protagonists, but the reality is much more complicated. Unlike the true psychopaths further down this list, Niko is a tragic anti-hero with a surprisingly strict moral compass. He doesn't take pleasure in what he does. There's no thrill of the chase, no sadistic joy in torture, and no desire to cause random chaos. He's self-aware of what he's doing. He hates civilian casualties, he despises drug dealers who target children, and he expresses disgust towards his own violent actions. Every time Niko pulls the trigger, it's driven by one of three things: professional necessity, desperate survival, or a very specific, vengeful quest to find the traitor who sold out his military unit back home. So, in my opinion, with these reasons, his actions are pretty much justified, considering how the world of GTA works. Or the last reason is simply brotherhood. And much like Franklin constantly having to babysit Lamar, Niko spends a big part of GTA 4 acting as the big brother and protective shield for his cousin, Roman. Roman is a reckless, gambling-addicted liability who gets in trouble constantly, Yet Nico's loyalty never breaks. He drops everything to pull his cousin out of trouble time and time again. Nico's personality is also very interesting. As I said, he looks like a maniac who kills anyone who gets in his way, but actually he's traumatized. He's suffering from severe PTSD, which makes him incredibly cynical and depressed. But beneath that hardened guy is someone who forms genuine, meaningful relationships. He also displays empathy for innocent people and questions his own morality. He might be a broken man with a short temper, but his remorse, his loyalty, and his mental grounding separate him from the truly unhinged characters. CJ is one of the most fascinating characters of the entire franchise. Why? Because his approachable personality is hiding his cruel nature, and how, at times, he can be pretty scary. When you first start playing San Andreas, CJ feels incredibly relatable. He isn't a cartel boss or a war criminal from the start. He's just a normal guy driven entirely by love for his family and loyalty to his neighborhood. He comes back to Los Santos simply to attend his mother's funeral and ends up staying to rebuild his broken home. Unlike characters who scream, bully others, or flex their egos, CJ's polite. He's soft-spoken, he respects the Grove Street family, and he wants to see his friends live a good life. Throughout the early story, he hesitates and is reluctant to get dragged back into the gang lifestyle. He acts like a good guy who's been caught in a terrible situation, which also makes players sympathize with him. But there's also a different side of him when he's double-crossed or betrayed. Then comes a whole different personality of CJ. He becomes unhinged with zero remorse. When a crew of construction workers harasses his sister, Kendall, a normal protective brother might start a fistfight or warn them maybe. What does CJ do? He hops into a bulldozer, knocks the foreman into a portable toilet, pushes that toilet into a ditch and buries the man alive under wet cement. Then there's the OG Locke situation. To help his friend, who's probably the worst rapper in the state, kickstart a music career, CJ plans a horrific crime. He murders several innocent private security guards just to steal a rhyme book. Later, he kidnaps a prominent music manager, drives his car off a pier, and watches it sink into the ocean with the man trapped inside. All of this for a mixtape. It doesn't stop there. When the truth tells him to steal a jetpack, CJ doesn't question the morality of the request. He single-handedly infiltrates a highly secure military base and a civilian train, slaughtering dozens of soldiers and guards without even blinking. And it isn't just murder. He even ruins innocent lives with cold, sociopathic calculation. When he needs a keycard to infiltrate Caligula's casino, he seduces a croupier named Millie Perkins. He manipulates her emotions entirely just to get what he wants. So, where does that leave CJ on the unhinged scale? He doesn't kill for chaotic thrills or personal pleasure like the true psychopaths. His real intention is always the protection and elevation of the Grove Street families. But his fatal psychological flaw, the thing that makes him genuinely terrifying, is that he views anyone outside of his immediate circle as entirely expendable. As long as you aren't wearing green, CJ can commit the most horrific acts of violence imaginable against you, and he will do it with a completely clear conscience. He waged a war against crack because it made his gang weak, not because he wanted to fight drug abuse and cared about ordinary people's health. He doesn't give a damn about the consequences of drugs, as long as they don't affect his income and Grove Street. He only cared about the effects of drugs on the Grove Street gang. So, we just covered CJ, a guy whose terrifying actions are hidden behind a friendly, neighborhood guy mask. What happens when a protagonist doesn't even try to pretend he has a moral compass? Welcome to the 1980s. Welcome to Vice City. And welcome to Tommy Vercetti. Unlike Franklin or Nico, who were largely forced into a life of crime by their circumstances, Tommy embraces it. He wants to rule the underworld. He's a classic old-school mobster guy pushed to the extreme. To understand why Tommy has almost zero regard for human life, you have to look at his background. Long before the neon lights of Vice City, Tommy was a loyal soldier for the Forelli crime family. In 1971, he was sent to Liberty City's Harwood district to execute a single target. Instead, he was ambushed by 11 men. But Tommy didn't run. Something inside him snapped, and he slaughtered all 11 hitmen in a massive public bloodbath, which earned him the legendary nickname, the Harwood Butcher. He spent the next 15 years rotting in prison, a stint that completely removed whatever tiny shred of empathy he had left. What emerged from that cell was a man with a short temper, who can't handle even the most minor setbacks, disrespect or technical failures without screaming, destroying property or threatening to execute his own allies. To Tommy, people are just tools. The exact second you aren't useful anymore, you become a liability, or mildly inconvenient to him. He switches in an instant and becomes a cold-blooded executioner just like that. And to conquer Vice City, he did a lot of questionable things that no sane person would do. In the infamous Demolition Man mission, the same mission we all struggled as kids to complete, where real estate mogul Avery Carrington hires Tommy to destroy a rival construction site just to drive down property values. A normal criminal might set a fire in the middle of the night. Tommy uses a remote-controlled miniature helicopter to drop commercial-grade bombs inside a building full of unarmed construction workers. He blows up the entire skyscraper structure, killing dozens of innocent people, just to manipulate the local housing market. Further proving that Tommy will do anything for a check, he even plans a bloody, full-scale race war between the Haitian and Cuban gangs. He literally dresses up as a Cuban gangster, crashes a Haitian funeral, and assassinates a gang lord. This single act completely destabilizes the city, causing hundreds of gang members to slaughter each other in the streets, while Tommy happily counts Avery Carrington's money. And when Tommy decides he wants to take over the city's counterfeiting rackets, he targets an enforcer named Gonzalez. He tracks him down to a penthouse apartment and brutally kills him in broad daylight in the streets. Tommy flees the police and is unfazed by the horrific nature of what he just did. To send a message to a stubborn local businessman, Tommy engages in a massive shootout inside the Vice Point Mall. To solidify his grip on the local protection rackets, he walks through the crowded mall, shooting out every single glass storefront with a shotgun. He didn't even think of the civilian panic, the stampedes, and the collateral damage. Look, Lance definitely betrays Tommy at the end of the game due to Tommy's constant emotional abuse and greed. And in the world of gangsters, betrayal is something that never goes unnoticed. You will always pay the price for it. But let's remember, Lance was the man who saved Tommy's life multiple times. Lance flew a helicopter to rescue him from being tortured to death, but the exact moment Lance betrays, Tommy guns him down on a rooftop without a single shred of grief or hesitation. In the game's climax, when his former boss Sonny Forelli arrives to collect his dues, Tommy single-handedly wipes out the entire leadership structure of the Forelli crime family. He executes his childhood mentor in the lobby of his own mansion, just to ensure that he has sole, undisputed ownership of the Vice City drug trade. But Tommy isn't just randomly crazy. His actions are driven by some of his own philosophies, which you may or may not agree with, but it is what it is. The world around him made him what he is. The first reason is that he wants total dominance. After wasting 15 years of his youth in a prison cell for a boss who set him up, his psychological driving force is absolute control. He refuses to take orders ever again. He wants to be the kingpin, so nobody can ever betray him or lock him up again. And the second reason is that he's greedy. Tommy doesn't care about neighborhood pride like CJ, or family survival like Nico. He wants luxury, wealth, and power. He buys up the Malibu Club, a taxi company, a boat yard, and a movie studio, purely to monopolize the city's cash flow. Tommy is filled with anger and vengeance for those who betrayed him, left him alone, and he is fueled by a deep, burning bitterness towards the Liberty City Mafia. The reason he isn't any higher on the list is that he hasn't done anything special when it comes to evil actions. He killed cops and criminals, just like everyone. There's no canon proof that he killed civilians during that Mitch Baker mission, since the meter could be filled by simply destroying cars or fighting cops. The reason we might think that Tommy is really, really evil is maybe that we played the game when we were kids, and the memories we have of this game is violence only. As a kid, the first thing that came to my mind when thinking about Tommy was him chasing Gonzalez with a chainsaw while screaming like a maniac. That mission shocked 8-year-old me because for the first time, I was actually controlling a bad guy in a video game. At the time, I was only used to video games with good guy superhero protagonists like Spider-Man, so when I first played this mission with Tommy chasing Gonzalez and tearing him apart with a chainsaw, I was like, damn, this guy is a psycho, he's sick in the head. Then I played San Andreas sometime later and saw CJ as an innocent kid who was bullied by the bad policemen and criminals. I was thinking, poor CJ, he's definitely more decent than that psycho Tommy. When we look at the trio of GTA 5, Michael, from his appearance alone, looks like the sanest of the three. But as we learn more about him, sane is definitely not the right word. He's totally unhinged. Don't let his formal appearance fool you. From the outside, he looks like he's got it all together. He has a family, a massive house in the hills, he wears expensive suits, and he even has a psychiatrist that he sits down with to share his feelings. He looks like a pretty normal, wealthy guy, right? Wrong. Michael DeSanta is unhinged because his entire existence is built on a lie, fueling rage, extreme narcissism, and a lack of genuine empathy for anyone. He is a sociopath who tries to blend in by making himself look like a normal person, but the second his ego or his lifestyle is threatened, the real monster inside of him comes out. Years before the game starts, Michael sold out his best friends and faked his own death just to escape his criminal past, which might be the craziest thing he did. He sacrificed his old life to give his family this peaceful suburban dream, but the irony is that he absolutely hates the life he fought to get. He's bored by his dysfunctional family, and that boredom drives him into depression. But it's his ego that makes him really, really dangerous. Michael views himself as a sophisticated, classic movie anti-hero. This delusion makes him incredibly defensive. Take his therapist, for example. Michael doesn't go to therapy to change, heal, or become a better father, like any normal person would. He uses therapy as a weapon, or as a way to find excuses for his terrible behavior and justify his intense selfishness. The main trigger for Michael's daily rage is the fact that the family he ruined lives to protect despises him. The very family he protected by doing everything, literally, views him as a psychopath and a crazy, angry dad that they intentionally keep their distance from. All 3 members of his family hate him and ignore him completely. Michael and his wife share a deeply toxic, resentful marriage. Amanda cheats on him openly with tennis coaches and yoga instructors, throwing his hypocrisy right back in his face. This is the main reason Michael is so angry all the time, and let's be honest, who wouldn't be after this? A son is someone who looks up to his father as his idol, but in Michael's case, his son is just a lazy gamer nerd who sits in his room all day playing video games. He constantly insults Michael's intelligence and steals his money. Michael desperately wants to be respected as a father figure, but Jimmy's lack of respect shatters his ego. At one point, Jimmy literally drugs Michael with a smoothie and steals his car. And later, we also see the real Michael, who breaks his TV with a chair just because his dad disturbed him while he was playing video games. And his daughter might be the one who causes him the most trouble. Tracy wants to become famous no matter what, so she keeps auditioning for low-level talent shows and spending time with predatory TV personalities like Laszlo Jones. This pushes Michael's overprotective side to the extreme. He often crashes TV sets in yacht parties, attacking people and threatening others with guns, while trying to protect a daughter who only gets more frustrated with him for getting involved. This constant rejection traps Michael in a vicious cycle. It convinces him that violence is the only language anyone actually understands. Because he's a miserable guy living a lie, Michael has a very short temper. And how he's reacted to certain things is pretty questionable. After catching Amanda cheating with the tennis coach, Michael chases the man to a luxury mansion in the Vinewood Hills. A normal, angry husband files for divorce or beats him with a few punches. Michael, he ties a winch from his pickup truck to the support beams of the house and literally pulls the entire multi-million-dollar structure down the hillside without a second thought. And this wasn't even the coach's house, and he didn't care. And similarly, being protective of his daughter. When he finds out Tracy has a stalker, Michael doesn't call the cops or just scare the guy off. He corners the man, grabs his laptop, and smashes it repeatedly over the guy's head, screaming and threatening to murder him. Even when Michael tries to be peaceful, his ego won't let him. During a couple yoga sessions in his backyard, ironically, an activity designed to calm his anger, he gets intensely jealous of the instructor touching his wife. He attacks the instructor mid-pose and ends up awkwardly falling into his own swimming pool. But the peak of his psychopathic nature is his manipulation. He treats people, even his loyal student Franklin, like pieces on a chessboard. Michael is a perfectly normal man who chooses to do what he does out of enjoyment and would happily stab others in the back to get what he wants. Michael loves it. We don't know much about Michael's upbringing, but he always finds a way back into his lifestyle. Most of you would rate Michael, or even Nico, as a more unhinged or mentally unstable protagonist, but the truth is that it's just recency bias. It's been a while since GTA 3 came out, and we all forgot how big of a psychopath Claude actually was. He was a cold-blooded killer. The most terrifying part about him is the silence around him. He doesn't suffer from anger like the other protagonists I mentioned. He suffers from a lack of soul. He is a walking, breathing executioner who never kills out of passion, revenge, or ideology. He kills simply because he's been told to do it, or a payphone told him to. And, obviously, he wasn't born like this. Something tragic happened that made him a madman. During the opening cinematic of GTA 3, in the high-stakes bank heist, his girlfriend Catalina shoots him point blank and leaves him for dead in front of Liberty City Bank. That single act of betrayal broke his heart and his whole personality. From that moment on, Claude becomes a killing machine. And the defining trait that makes him unique, his pure silence, is what makes him so deeply unsettling. Because he never speaks a single word, there's no chance for remorse, no moral justification, and no bargaining. He never argues with his employers. He never taunts his victims. He just stares blankly, pulls the trigger, and walks away. And honestly, that's the most terrifying part about any of the GTA's protagonists. He has no personal code, no loyalty to a neighborhood, and no political stance. He is a pure mercenary. He will happily work for the Mafia in the morning, the Yakuza in the afternoon, and corrupt cops by nightfall. He's completely unbothered by playing all sides against the middle. He is programmed to be a killer. He receives a signal, kills the target, and collects the paycheck, simply. Because of this, it's really hard to trust him. Most protagonists feel at least a tiny bit of guilt when they have to turn on an ally. Not Claude. He'll spend weeks building a deep, trusting relationship with a crime boss, only to put a bullet between their eyes simply because a rival boss offered him an extra zero on his paycheck. The best example of this is his relationship with the Yakuza leader, Kenji Carson. Claude works for him extensively and earns his trust, but the second a corrupt media mogul named Donald Love offers him a contract to assassinate Kenji to drive down local real estate prices, Claude doesn't even think once. He steals a rival cartel cruiser, runs Kenji over in cold blood, and purposefully sparks a massive gang war. Or look at Salvatore Leone. Salvatore takes Claude in, treats him like a respected soldier, and introduces him to the highest ranks of the Mafia. The very moment Salvatore gets paranoid and tries to betray him, Claude changes instantly. He teams up with the Yakuza, ambushes Salvatore outside a sex club, and assassinates him. Even cripples the entire Leone family. Just another day at the office for Claude. It gets even darker. Remember Donald Love, the billionaire who ordered the hit on Kenji? It turns out Love has a disturbing hobby. He eats human corpses. He refers to them as morsels. Most criminals would draw the line at cannibalism, but Claude willingly helps him traffic these bodies and murders anyone who gets too close to investigating Love's sick obsession. As long as the cash is there, Claude doesn't care. And the ending of the game proves how psychotic and unhinged he really is. After going through absolute hell, wiping out armies of cartel members and shooting a helicopter out of the sky to rescue Maria Lattori from Catalina, the two of them finally walk away to safety. As the screen fades to black, Maria starts talking, and talking, and talking. Then a single gunshot echoes, and her voice stops. Claude didn't save her out of love or chivalry. He didn't even save her out of love to humanity either. He saved her to complete the mission. And once the mission was over, she was just an annoying person that he wanted to get rid of. If we're making a video about the most unhinged protagonists in GTA, Trevor is the first name that comes to mind. This dude is a psychotic, mentally unstable individual who takes joy in punishing others. He really has no limits. And the very first mission also explains why he's so insane. He has abandonment issues. He was raised by an emotionally abusive, highly neglectful mother who eventually ended up in prison. Because of this, Trevor spends his entire adult life desperately searching for a maternal figure. This twisted trauma manifests in bizarre ways, like when he affectionately kidnaps Patricia Madrazo, the elderly wife of a ruthless cartel boss, just so he can have someone to serve him soup and tell him that he's a good boy. That's pretty weird in my opinion. And he uses extreme drugs, which even made him more insane. He's a guy who can go from weeping uncontrollably over a dead friend to single-handedly slaughtering an entire military base within a few seconds. You just can't predict what's going on in his sadistic mind. Not only is his way of killing sadistic, but it's also the way he lives his life. He's weird top to bottom. If you play GTA 5, you know exactly what happens when you use the character wheel to switch back to Trevor. You might spawn in to find him waking up on top of a mountain, wearing a filthy floral sundress, covered in dirt and blood, surrounded by empty beer bottles. You might find him passed out on a beach in his underwear, surrounded by the unconscious or dead bodies of lost MC bikers. Or you might cut to him speeding down the highway running from a wanted level police chase, wearing nothing but his underwear. He treats the entire state of San Andreas like his personal dumpster. When he decides he likes the Vanilla Unicorn strip club, he doesn't just become a VIP. He murders the manager, puts the rotting corpse in the back, takes over the business and moves into the office. Half the time you switch to him, he's waking up passed out face down on the main stage of the strip club. And then there's the hygiene and the diet. Trevor is speculated to be a cannibal, even offering people human stew or mysterious meat pies out of his filthy trailer in Sandy Shores. He's so utterly disgusting that his very introduction to the player involves him curb stomping Johnny Klebert's skull into the dirt, simply because Johnny had the nerve to complain about Trevor having his girlfriend's fluids on the bottom of his boot. The most disturbing mission in GTA's history would be the by-the-book mission. It remains one of the most controversial moments in gaming, because it forces you, the player, to control Trevor as he inflicts horrific pain on Ferdinand Kerimov, who was an innocent Azerbaijani home theatre installer. The FIB tells Trevor to question a man and get information from him, but Trevor doesn't choose a quick or simple method to get the answer. Instead, he turns the whole thing into a cruel investigation game, one that he loved with all his heart. He uses different tools to hurt the man, breaking his kneecaps with a wrench, pulling out his teeth with pliers, shocking him with a car battery, and even waterboarding him. But the part that really shows how sadistic Trevor is comes later. After getting the information, the FIB tells Trevor to kill the victim. Trevor instead drives the injured man to the airport so he can escape. During the drive, Trevor suddenly explains something shocking. Torture doesn't actually work for getting reliable information. He says people in power do it because it gives them a feeling of control. That means Trevor knew from the beginning that all the pain he caused was unnecessary. He didn't torture the man because he needed information or it was necessary for them. He did it because he enjoyed having the chance to do it. He really is a sick, twisted guy. That's it guys for GTA Protagonists ranked from least to most unhinged. If you enjoyed this one and want to watch another video, I suggest watching the Red Dead 2 facts video that's on your screen. Click it and I'll see you there.